great deal. He's been a very courageous person. But as I told you off to the side, I completely agree with you. And this about, the words we use. And this is what I would say. I understand exactly where you're coming from, Henry, but I guess I would say someone has to be the leading edge. Someone has to say the things, hopefully correct, today that couldn't be said yesterday. I mean, James Baldwin got into trouble in the late 60s or early 70s for daring to say and write an essay that a Jewish person could be racist. That was considered anti-Semitic to say. And he got in a lot of trouble for saying it. But he was on the leading edge of those who were willing to risk the most, who were willing in some cases to lose the most, who were hopefully in many ways the least vulnerable. If I still worked for UC Berkeley, I wouldn't have been able to say and write probably half the things I said and have said and formally written without risking my job. Now, no Zionist can touch me, and so I say what I want to say. But, someone had to be the first to say that the Israel lobby does have power, and many of you know I wrote a paper about that was published to break that log jam of saying, hopefully in a very intelligent way, and explaining, yes, the Israel lobby has power. And it's sad that, like Gilad talks about censorship from the left, it's sad that it took two establishment professors in this country to break the logjam on the left to say that the Israel lobby has power. Someone had to be the first to criticize Zionism or to say Zionism is racism when we weren't supposed to say that. So here's where I sympathize with your goal of working together, but sometimes we can work together to the least common denominators where you have, if I may be forgiven for saying, anti-Zionist Jews who are greater Palestinian supporters than many of the leading Palestinian advocates in the United States, including some friends of mine. Because what I've been dispirited about is that, as of yet, even among Palestinian American friends of mine, I see no Frederick Douglasses, I see no Sojourner Truths, I see no Harriet Tubmans, I sure as hell see no Malcolm X's, I don't see any James Baldwin, there's no Martin Luther King, they're all tongue biters, they're all accommodationists, and one reason why Gilad said so, they work for universities. The only person of color who can tell the truth in the United States is one whose livelihood is not dependent on white institutions. And if you are, you have to, I used to get attacked by Rabab Abdul-Hadi at SFSU for criticizing Norman Finkelstein as a liberal racist. She attacked me and supported him. But since he's come out of the closet, which at least Ali Abu Nima exposed, he was wrong about Gilad, but at least Ali Abu Nima exposed Norman Finkelstein. Have I gotten an apology from Professor Rabab Abdul-Hadi at San Francisco State? No. Okay, I'll get to my question. I just wanted to say that. Gilad, you spoke about censorship. I have to read my messy handwriting. You spoke about censorship and attempted censorship from the left. You called it political correctness, although I think that term has more than one and differing connotations. But I accept what you mean. What has also dispirited me the most is, besides the lack of Palestinian American correlates of great Black American activists, is that I realize that there's a lot of censorship from the left on the left. One of the two icons we aren't supposed to criticize from the left, and I catch hell for doing so, is Noam Chomsky. But once again and still, Guru Chomsky, last week, if that's when he spoke at the Paramount in Oakland, definitely said, the Israel lobby, I'm not quoting him, the Israel lobby, the Jewish Zionist lobby, has no particular power. But it's the white, goy, Christian Zionist lobby that's pushing everything about Zionism and Israel. And so, let's see if I can read this last thing. Because it seems to say, and this fits the pattern of saying it's really the goy Christian lobby that's pushing, is that I've seen this pattern where even left Zionist Jews do not seem to want to criticize any other Jews for the share of the suffering and misery that they cause in Palestine. Therefore, it's a Christian Zionist. It's not the Israelite and all that kind of stuff. Okay. I wonder what you have to say.
For sure. It is very significant. And I'm pretty sure that you quoted Chomsky correctly.
It's close.
And I'm sure, because I heard it before. And this is indeed an exemplary case of the morbid, repellent level of the lefty spin. Chomsky is in this country an icon of a progressive intellect. And I'm sorry to say it, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. There are things that I like about Chomsky. He's a tolerant human being.
I don't know about that.
I think so.
Against softball questions, not against real questions.
I think so.
Not against real questions.
I've seen Chomsky, I've never seen, by the way, Chomsky attacking the so-called enemies within, like myself or Israel Shamir, and I've seen him even writing introduction to Faurisson, Holocaust denier. They call him an Holocaust denier. I call him a Holocaust revisionist. So Chomsky is an interesting guy, but as an intellect, there is severe lack of integrity. By the way, he is entitled to say what he is saying.
Yes.
Sure.
But it is pathetically wrong. And I'm sure that he also sees that it's wrong. Now, you mentioned also Finkelstein. I don't agree with Norman Finkelstein on most issues. But I have respect to his integrity. I think that he is wrong. His principle of international law as a main...
That's a diversionary ruse of his, to lead people to a dead end.
And maybe. I think that he is wrong, but he's entitled to be wrong. And the fact that we cannot have an intellectual exchange in this movement, this is the problem.
Exactly.
Can you think of a resistance in the movement, a resistance movement in the history of the 20th century with no intellectual exchange? With calls to disavow people that you don't agree with? How pathetic it is.
And that's what Chomsky does.
Now, Palestinians in America and in Britain and in France are not going to do anything. And you know why?
Why?
Because they are ordinary human beings, because they are not Jews. They are ordinary human beings. And when you are a migrant, whether you are from Colombia or Brazil or Palestine or Syria, and you come to America, you want to be American. It's natural. It's natural. I have seen enough Palestinians that are going through it, and they get into university or they get into a job and they say, you know what, I had enough time in Palestine, I lost my brother, I'm here, they want to leave. To expect them to carry this battle, maybe it's, it's not fair. They suffered enough. We have to think about these things. To expect Ramzi Baruch to carry this torch forever. No, he has a life. He has his right to move on. And by the way, the Jews within this movement make it very easy for them. They say, oh, Ramzi, you can go, I will carry the torch. Because it serves our tribal interest to carry the torch. You say, oh, look at me, it's not the Jews, we have some nice Jews. So we let Philip Wise carry the torch instead of Ramsey. And just pick Ramsey as an example, yeah? And then I asked Philip Wise, why do you do it? He said, it's because of Jewish interests. He said it, and are you sure? Can I publish it? He said, yes. He was a courageous guy. So it is very, very complicated, this issue of identity politics, and in a way I addressed your question. We cannot expect Palestinian Americans to do the job. And once they seem to do the job, the electronic into Papa and all these websites, they're really maintaining the Palestinian solidarity industry. So they can